noticeably less. Cydonia will be one of their targets. I mean, we've got to go there. To not go there would be
it'd be a tragedy.
Terrible.
Yeah, it would be. And you know, with Mars, something horrible happened environmentally to that planet a long time ago, don't you think?
Yeah, my friend and colleague John Brandenburg has written about that extensively.
Yeah.
He believes there was a nuclear event on Mars.
Planet-wise, the entire planet was engulfed in it, probably.
Yeah. I mean, but as remarkable as that sounds, even the planetary science community admits that Mars did it did lose its atmosphere, maybe not catastrophically in that way, but it did lose its atmosphere and its biosphere early on, and they don't believe for that reason that an indigenous life and a technological civilization could have developed on Mars, or anything capable of having created a face. And of course, they don't believe in UFOs and aliens, so that can't be that can't be an explanation. So if it's not a rock formation, then that means that we put it there, which goes back to your question.
Which is possible. Yeah, which is possible.
I think so.
But do you think a planetary-wide disaster could have occurred after the planet was inhabited, and it just wiped out everybody, or they took off and got in craft and escaped, and maybe came to planet Earth? Who knows? Yeah,
I mean, it's possible. That's kind of not as much in my wheelhouse. So it's, I'm speculating as much as anyone else on that. It's possible. It's interesting. NASA in their sort of like retooling their SETI program and starting to look for something called technosignatures within our solar system. And they're actually talking. I don't know how seriously they are about this, but talking about possibly trying to find evidence of prior civilization, earlier civilizations on Earth and on Mars and Venus. So if you take them at their word, and they're going to develop some technologies, maybe we're talking about some advanced satellite-based radars that could look through the soil. Years ago, they were flying these radars on the, I think they were shuttle imaging radars that were imaging these old river valleys in Egypt. And so, they might be able to employ similar technologies on Mars to find things that are buried beneath the sand.
Let's go to John in Broomfield, Colorado, west of the Rockies. John, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm glad to be speaking to you tonight. My take on the UFOs is that I've been looking at Europa for quite a while. I've had a big interest because my daughter, who's a world-class spectroscopist, discovered early on in her career, they were given an exercise to look at data from Mauna Kea of Europa, and they found that the water on Europa was that they were looking at on the surface was 60% heavy water.
Mm-hmm.
Got deuterium oxide in it, and Europa is a good candidate for life because there's more. The ocean is bigger than the ocean on the Earth, and there's underground volcanoes and so forth where there's life could have formed, and it's been there for many, many years, and it's become quite intelligent. And they thought that there was the surface of Europa was covered by kilometer-sized or thick, maybe 20 kilometers thick layer of ice, but recently the Hubble Space Telescope found geysers at the South Pole of Europa, and I came up with a mechanism for how they could, there could have been on the surface, there could have been deuterium oxide instead of hydrogen oxide water, the heavy water, and that is by the geysers, the lighter water would escape and the heavy water would come down, fall back down onto the surface. And then it also makes, because there's geysers, it makes it look like it's easier for them, if there's intelligent life on, smarter than whales and dolphins and so forth, there, that they could use the rocket propulsion system that the professor at the University of Reno, Nevada has come up with. It's a deuterium-powered rocket with little tiny explosions in it. And they would be able to carry a water, like, our astronauts fly in an atmosphere of oxygen. They have to carry their own oxygen and that thing. But if they're in a water rocket, and they could come down here and visit the Earth and go vacationing in the South Pacific, and they wouldn't be crushed by high accelerations because the water's incompressible, and it's a neutral buoyancy situation. That's how the astronauts train.
Now that professor, his last name's Winterberg. That's the guy, isn't it?
That's the guy. Yep.
Interesting. What's your take, Mark, on Europa? What do you think?
Yeah, gee, I mean that I think even that there's a whole thread there of ideas. Probably the most basic point is, like, can we perform simple evidence of life tests on Europa like we've been trying to do on Mars, that would be of course another really interesting experiment, because then we would have we have the Earth, we have Mars, we have Europa. I don't know if there's any other candidates in the solar system, just to see kind of are we finding life anywhere else. I know what I was talking about with the whole SETI hypothesis about life being really common in the universe. It's more of a belief, right? It's a starting point for a lot of scientists to assume that, but we don't really know that for a fact, and we don't even know how life started on Earth. They say, well, okay, perhaps it was panspermia. Well, that begs the question, well, if that's how life got to Earth, how did it start wherever it came from? And so we just have a lack of basic understanding of the most basic questions in science, like the origin of life. And so I think doing more experiments, I think Europa, that's a really cool idea. I would be very interested to see what they came up with there. And this whole idea of using native materials for for propulsion and so forth. That we're going on the moon to helium-3, right? And SpaceX will be manufacturing methane on Mars. You got to take it with you. You can't bring you can't bring everything you need. You got to make it from the native materials. So that's kind of a really cool idea on Europa, using exploiting the deuterium.
Mark, do you think the Bible, talking about fallen angels and visitations and things like that, we're talking about ETs because that's all people, they figured they didn't know about ETs, so they called them angels?
Well, this was what Eric Von Daniken suggested back in the 60s. This is the era of Apollo. We're going into space, and we just started, I think probably a few years before that, it just started the first steady search program to bring in a telescope. So, the whole idea was, there's going to be life out there. It's got to be, has to be. And so if we can't explain something based on our own human technologies, capabilities, and it's not something that's psychic or non-material, then I think that just naturally led to, well, it must be extraterrestrial.
Exactly. Stay with us, Mark. We're going to come back and take final calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.
Coast Insiders, the new version of the Coast to Coast AM app, is now available for iPhone and now Android 4.0 and above. Listen live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Go to coasttocoastam.com and download it today.
Phil Hewlett from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Investigators confirm that the firefighter who shot and killed a colleague at the Agua Dulce firehouse did indeed have a long-standing dispute with him. Jonathan Cachon killed Torrey Carlon, wounded the fire captain, then set his house on fire and killed himself. If you are one of the people who have yet to get your COVID shot, LA County has a deal for you. Tomorrow through next Thursday, free season tickets for the Dodgers or Los Angeles FC are up for grabs. You must live in LA County and be at least 18. Both the Lakers and Clippers are one game away from elimination in the playoffs. The Clippers lost last night to Dallas. The Lakers try to stay alive tonight in Game 6 against the Phoenix Suns at Staples Center. Southland weather from KFI. Patchy fog this morning. Sunny later except at the coast. Low 90s in the valleys and the IE. Mid to upper 70s, Metro LA and OC. Mid 60s at the beaches. Right now it's 60 in Brea. Laguna Beach is 60. Carson 61. And in Stevenson Ranch, currently 59 degrees. We lead local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Phil Hewlett.
Making your way through Rosemead and the westbound side of the 10 at Walnut Grove. Wreck has the off-ramp shut down. Crews on the scene with the little blockers blocking the main line. Irvine, 405 North connector to the southbound 133 is the fender bender in the right lane of the transition road. Glen Helen, southbound 15 just past Glen Helen Parkway. Look out for a conked-out car that's plugging up the far right lane. And a full three-way closure in San Bernardino. Eastbound 210, all lanes shut down at Del Rosa for a Caltrans project. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Ryan Duggan.
It's finally here. The vaccine's rolling out, bars are reopening, the weather's fantastic, and live events are coming back. I'm attorney Darren Cavanoki of 1-800-NO-CUFFS. With all this great stuff happening, you may be indulging in a little bit more celebration. So if you find yourself in handcuffs for any reason, and not by choice, then call 1-800-NO-CUFFS 24/7. 1-800-NO-CUFFS, because no one looks good in handcuffs, unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUFFS.
Getting families vaccinated against COVID-19 is an important step to bringing back joy for all of us. That's within reach now that the Pfizer vaccine is proven safe and effective for those 12 and older. This is the same vaccine millions of Californians have already gotten. California is even adding new vaccine clinics specifically for young people. Together, we can end the pandemic. Visit vaccinateall58.com or call 833-422-4255 to learn more.
Do you want out of your house for whatever reason? Selling a home usually means cleaning or painting, repairing, staging. So let me ask, what if you could sell your home for a fair price without any of that hassle? What if the buyer never had to walk through your house? What if you could sell that house without even an appraisal, paying no commission, paying no fees, and what if you could get cash? And get it fast, and I'm talking within 10 days or less. That is exactly what directbuyers.com does. They will buy your property now. Directbuyers.com is a local family-owned business. It's been in business since 1986. Do not sell your home until you talk to directbuyers.com. See what they can offer you. They give you a reasonable price, and they'll give you an honest, no-obligation offer. Go to directbuyers.com, directbuyers.com, call 844-242-SELL, 844-242-SELL, visit directbuyers.com.
KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk.
You do scratch offs, fella? You don't strike me as a woman who's in there scratching off with her coffee and her donut every morning.
The Tim Conway Jr. Show, weeknights at 6 on KFI. KFI, AM 640.
And my time is running wild and every time I thought I got it made, it seemed the day was not so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I've never caught a glimpse how the others receive they are. I'm much too fast to take that test. Changes. I wanna be a richer
George Norrie, call the wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is 818-501-4721. To talk toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies toll-free, call 800-618-8255. To reach George via Skype, use Skype name George97313. Send George a text message anytime at 818-298-6521. This is Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie.
We'll be back in a moment to take final calls with Mark Carlotto as we talk about Not of This World. Next hour, Robert Wagoner joins us as we talk about lucid dreaming here on Coast to Coast. Wednesday night, 2 more programs from the Art Bell Vault come out to you, Coast Insiders.
Absolutely. The Art Bell Vault never disappoints, and this week is no exception. So we've got 2 shows we've added on alien abductions. The first show is from 2004. The guest is researcher Dr. Richard Boylan. And then we go to a show from 2005. Art's guest was alien hunter Daryl Sims. So these are all classic shows, and it's classic audio, all heard without interruption for insiders. The easy part, to become an insider, just head over to coasttocoastam.com. All that info is right there for you.
And what's it like to be a Coast Insider? Listen to these.
I'm a Coast Insider because now I have 24/7 access to the best show ever, Coast to Coast AM.
Hi, it's Teresa. I love being an insider because the shows I listen to, I always appreciate the diversity of thoughtful insights it brings me on a variety of topics on Coast to Coast. The show has challenged me to think deeper and to broaden my horizon.
So give it a try. It's 15 cents a day. You sign up by going to coasttocoastam.com. Right at the top of the homepage, it says Coast Insider. Fill out the info, and you are there. Now, here's something that is dramatically changing the way people feel.
HealthyLooking.com has brought you stem cell-based products for the skin and hair growth and is now offering the Stem Cell Wellness Kit to protect your body's stem cells and assist your immune system. Here's Dr. Malay with more.
Whether it's physical activity, obesity, diet, smoking, low on hormones, stress, sleep disorders, or your age can be supported by reducing inflammation and aiding the body to heal itself appropriately. A stem cell is a cell waiting to be told what it needs to be. If there is inflammation, that inflammation needs to be stopped. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, kidney disease, various types of cancer, depression, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disorders, osteoporosis, even fatty liver are chronic signs of inflammation and can be aided by supporting the body's ability to protect those cells that it needs. And that is the purpose of ImmuStem and AdaptoStem together, supporting the body to be the best it can be.
Dr. Malay, how will I feel after taking AdaptoStem and ImmuStem?
The ImmuStem is going to have an immediate effect, but I guarantee you that your immune system is starting to function better after 24 hours. You put AdaptoStem along with it, you will feel it in 30 minutes.
Order now at HealthyLooking.com. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit from Dr. Malay protects your body's stem cells and will make you feel better faster. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit with AdaptoStem and ImmuStem and your free gift Relaxol is only available at HealthyLooking.com or toll free at 800-563-3980. That's 800-563-3980. Don't forget to enter promo code George for free shipping. George's Stem Cell Wellness Kit at HealthyLooking.com. That's HealthyLooking.com.
Christine Rose, how did you become involved in holistic health and healing?
By being extremely ill and trying to find a solution. I was told I was dying with 3 months to live, and I wasn't going to give up. Hell had researched it, and that is why we are so fortunate to have a carnivora today. I was treated by him every day with carnivora, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And you don't really have to be very ill to have the benefits of carnivora.
How many weeks or months into the supplementation did you start feeling that there really is an impact, I'm going to live.
Probably 2 months, and that was by observing the blood work.
So you were supposed to die in 3 months, and 34 years later, you're helping others, Stevie.
I am staying with my natural program, one of which is carnivora. You cannot stop and say, oh, I have enough, I feel good. That is the wrong way. That's why I feel so fantastic, and I'm past 80.
Beautiful.
Carnivora will make all the difference in the world.
This is George. I promised you yet another fantastic real-life story. Hope you enjoyed this one. Call Carnivora at 1-866-836-8735, 1-866-836-8735, or visit carnivora.com, carnivora.com. Call today. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win daily instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Open your FDIC insured spend account by visiting creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account. Get rules and start winning Instant Karma. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. And welcome back to our final segment with Mark Carlotto, author of Not of This World. Where do people get your book, Mark?
Amazon.
Best place.
Yep.
Quick and efficient and ready to roll.
Yep.
Did you have a difficult time wrestling with yourself on some of the theories in the book?
Not really. I was a little hesitant to write the book to come up with the conclusions that I do at the end, because I realize they really fly in the face of what everyone else thinks. You know, it's kind of it's different, and so I was like wrestling with how I present that, or do I do I basically not do I sort of just come up with something that's a little bit more ambiguous, or just a little softer set of conclusions. And in the end, it was like I just have to sort of do say what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it took a little wrestling with that was difficult, because it is really different from what other books are talking about. There's so much fear. The whole UFO field, people that are involved are, I have a lot of interactions on Facebook with people, and it's just, they're really edgy, and it's just, I don't know, it's really different, but I feel like I need to get a different perspective out of it. It took me a little while to figure out how to do that.
Well, people are edgy. I think COVID's had a lot to do with that too, don't you?
It didn't help.
No, not at all. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Dan in New York on the wild card line. Daniel, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call, George.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, the thing here is that I'm an extraterrestrial guy only. I don't believe these ETs are from other dimensions or parallel universe, because these planet worlds in this galaxy, satellite moons and stars of suns, are of many great variety. The numbers of them, the sizes of them, what knocks me over, and the types of the various different types of all these. And if you're going to have all of that, you're going to create a great variety of forces, of energies, which creates physics, elements of matter, which creates chemistry. And in return, all that is going to create various amounts of biologies. That's why maybe these ETs can communicate telepathy-wise. And also various types of technologies. So all these G-forces talking about it, maybe that's why they have a certain technology, a certain condition inside their craft, that they don't get crushed. And of course, naturally, all the ingredients for life is spread throughout the cosmos. But I'll just stop there. I got the ingredients here, but...
Well, that's well said, though, Dan, because Seth Shostak, Mark, from SETI again, once told me on this program that the primordial soup in the universe is the same everywhere. And so his theory was, of course, that life is abundant out there. What do you think?
Right, and when you look at it from that perspective, I agree. However, the Big Bang is just one theory of the universe.
Whatever that is, by the way.
Whatever that is, the mainstream view is that a singularity, from a singularity came basically every time and space, and over long periods of time, from matter evolved life. Life suddenly developed, and then from life emerged consciousness, self-awareness, and so forth. But that's not the only theory of creation. The mystics talk about emanations of that. In the beginning, there wasn't a singularity. In the beginning, it was consciousness, pure consciousness, and the act of creation was the subdivision of that consciousness, was the unfolding of planes of existence, of different, if you want to call them dimensions or planes of consciousness, from pure consciousness to lesser degrees down to our physical plane, which is mostly matter and very little consciousness. So if you look at things from that point of view, then sort of you come up with a different take, and that's kind of where I go with the book. But I agree, Dan. If you go with a mainstream theory, then that's basically what SETI is talking about and where they're going, and that's their hypothesis. But it remains to be seen if it's correct. I mean, it hasn't been proven. It's unproven. There's no data to support it. I mean, I hate to be blunt, but there really is no proof of that there is life out there. I mean, it's speculation, but there's no proof of it.
You've got a doctorate in electrical engineering. Was it difficult for you, Mark, to kind of get into this field of the possibilities of extraterrestrial life?
My life path could be a whole other show, and it's one that no one would be interested in. I think engineering is a very creative field in general. It's not just making things faster or better or cheaper. There's a lot of creativity, and you sort of learn how to synthesize ideas. And science is very sort of it follows a certain pattern, a certain paradigm. And I think engineers have a way of sort of upsetting things. There's the whole concept of disruptive technologies, where you look at things in a completely different way. And I think, that's what I'm trying to do here. And I think being an engineer makes me pretty well suited for it.
Let's go to Blair in Sedona, Arizona. Welcome to the program, Blair.
Well, early birthday greetings to you, George.
Thank you, Blair. Pretty soon.
Dr. Carlotta, will you share your study of the backside of the moon, possibly following up on the NASA Clementine photos, and other countries like China and India making discoveries there similar to the Russian Zond moon mission photos?
Yeah, so this is a little sidetracked. A few years ago, some of my colleagues from back in the Mars days had found some really intriguing photos on the moon. I had spent a little time working with Dick Hoagland way back then. Dick was had been studying Apollo and lunar orbiter photos, and he believed that there was evidence of structures on the moon. And I never felt that the evidence was strong enough, and I kind of I didn't really pursue that at the time. But what some colleagues of mine, Fran Ridge and Ananda Saracena, discovered were there's some Apollo photos that showed some structures on the far side of the moon that were really interesting. And what we've been doing when these things come up, we'll sort of email each other. It's like, well, I found this or found that. It's like, let's see if we can find some lunar orbiter, some more recent imagery. And they did, and they found tons of shots over this feature, and we're able to corroborate that it's actually even more interesting in more recent imagery. So, I think now the Chinese are on the far side as well, and I don't really know what they've been able to find or what their agenda is, but
it's certainly there's certainly some intriguing things. I think probably the most interesting things on the moon might, like on Mars, be underground. If there is anything, Carl Sagan in the '60s talked about the possibility of extraterrestrials being on the backside of the moon, using it as an observation, place for observing the Earth. And it turns out there's some interesting locations near the South Pole, I believe it is, to do so. So people are looking, but I think it's also possible that if there is an ET presence on the moon, it could be hiding underground. There's been people have observed these transient lunar events for years, and that could also be correlated with with UFOs. So we're going back to the moon, so it's another one of these things that we're going to have hardware there, and it's sensors, and it'll be really cool to see what we find. And we'll be able to continuously monitor some of these areas, and it'll be really hard for anything transient to escape our sensors. So I think it'll be some exciting time for some of the science we're talking about here.
Back to the phones we go. Tim in Carson City, Nevada. Welcome to the show. Hey, Tim.
Hello, George. It's good to speak with you.
Thank you, sir.
I had the honor of speaking with Art Bell in 1995, and I've been a fan this whole time.
It's a long time. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a couple of devil's advocate questions to ask you.
Okay.
I'm disabled, and I've been sky watching every night for the last 7 years. And I have seen things that, well, let's just say mind-blowing things in the sky, day and night. So I know there's something out there. So my devil's advocate is, I kind of lean that what I'm seeing is Earth-based. I think it was Mr. Lear that said there's some stuff out there that's 10 years more advanced than what is known to the public.
And that could be. That could be.
And I believe the head of Skunk Works says 50 years more advanced. So my question is, if civilizations can travel across light years to get all the way here, would they be inept enough to be susceptible to crash? I mean, the technology has got to be way more advanced considering where we are now. And my second point I'd like to hear your comment on is, would civilizations that advanced even need the use of light? I mean, we already have night vision. They must have, like, hypervision.
They'd have to.
So I'd like to hear you and your guest comments on that.
I always wondered about Roswell. If they had the technology to get here, Mark, how could they crash?
Yeah, so one speculation is that this was part of the, the so-called alien agenda to gradually make their presence known over a period of time, and in fits and starts to limit